All right, I'm gonna touch on this house in particular right here. We just got the location. Renting out, or they're trying to rent it out for 1865, 1800 a month, basically is what we're looking at. They bought it for 252, I think, year and a half ago. I'll look at those statistics specifically, but what I'm trying to say here is this is a huge company that has bought this house. They have hundreds of houses, and seems to be, from my perspective here, the profit really is kind of quite minimal as far as looking at just one unit by itself. Once you have hundreds and hundreds of units, of course, they're making more money. But let's follow the math a little bit on this. So let's say somebody was to finance this thing. Let's say somebody comes in and does a 80 to 20% finance on this, right? So basically you put in $250,000 house, you put in $50,000 down in your own cash, and then your mortgage payments altogether is going to be about $2,000 a month, realistically, give or take about $2,000 a month. That's including all the PITI. That means including taxes, including insurance, payment, interest altogether. So mathematically, it doesn't make any sense because at that point you're already losing $150, but you also got to consider you got maintenance. I mean, you also got to consider you got any kind of other things that need to be done to it. Maybe you have vacancy. That's another thing, vacancy that you got to consider. So for somebody just coming in there and financing this thing, it makes absolutely no sense. Absolutely no sense to invest it. Yeah, you're probably going to be investing it because this is a popular area and everybody wants to invest here because everybody perceives that the property is going to grow. What if they don't? That's another scary thing. What if they don't? What if it's going to slow down? So that's what we're talking about here. But for the company as big as it is, this company owns hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of houses all around. They still making profit on it and still hoping for it to grow, and they're not going to lose out on it because even though they're renting it out for a low price, I would say, and really doesn't seem to be having such a profit margin that they could have, they're still going to come out ahead. I mean, they're probably booking about 6%, so $250,000 property, and then you only making 12 kind of profit because that's $1,800 minus about $600 total, all the taxes and expenses and everything else. So about $1,200 profit on that. Multiply that by 12, but that's $14,400. $14,400 divided by 250. That's about 6%. 6%. I'm guessing approximately 6% of what you're looking at. So not a lot of profit really in this. Not a lot of profit. But once you got hundreds and hundreds of houses, they're enjoying it. They're happy with it because they consider that this is an investment property that's not going to go down match in price. So that's the mentality on this. But for a private individual investing it, this doesn't make any sense. Yeah, you own property in a popular area. This is the most popular area in the whole of Indiana. But mathematically, it doesn't make any sense, guys. It does not make any sense. This house right here, let's talk about this example. All right? So right now, market-wise, it seems like it's about $330,000, $350,000, which is quite high, I think. But regardless, that's about what this house goes here around here. You mathematically, your payment, let's say you bought this, obviously to rent it out, you bought this property. Mathematically, 80-20%. Again, we'll stick with that because obviously there's different terms, but we'll stick with that, 80-20. Your mathematical payment on that with taxes and everything else is going to be approximately $2,500. $2,500, okay. Around this area, they're renting out for about $1,900. Come on, guys. Come on. You're losing $600 right there. We're not talking about maintenance. We're not talking about anything else that you're going to be obviously piling up additionally, but we're just talking about PITI. Again, we're talking about just PITI, $2,500 if you bought this property or any kind of property around this area, comparable one, and then you only get $1,900. Now, let's touch on one topic. Clearly, about 3 years ago, when somebody bought a property around this area, they were only about $200,000, $230,000. Now, if you're a massive investor with a lot of money that doesn't care and they can sit on a lot for a long time, you don't care. You can invest $230,000 and then right now it's worth $330,000, $350,000. So that's $100,000 profit made. But that's just because the bubble that we had, or I guess if you don't want to call it a bubble, it might not be a bubble. We don't know. Nobody really knows. But the fact is, over the last 3 years, the property went up in quite a bit in price. Now, let's touch upon exactly how this property looks like. We looked at the previous one. Let's look at this one. This property is offered for rent. From the inside, it looks pretty decent, but from the outside, my goodness. I mean, everything and anything about this property does not look very good. You got caulk job on the windows that it looks like crap. You got windows themselves. I mean, shutters look pretty dated. I mean, the contrast is just thrown right there in your face compared to what it was from the previous property to this property. The whole yard needs to be cleaned out. The mulch hasn't been cleaned out in a long time. God, just trees look like they're dying. I mean, God, there's really not a lot of pretty things about this compared to, like I said, compared to the last property that we looked at. So honestly, it needs a lot of love. It needs some extra love for sure to make it look more appealing, like the last property that we looked at that was another thing. Actually, that's the negative. See, the last house had a two-car garage, single. This one has a 1 and 1. That's not as pleasant of a layout as the other house had. And obviously, the other one had a newer looking everything, pretty much. I mean, the driveway looked newer, didn't have all this grass, didn't have a busted concrete and everything. The other one, this one, it looks like, honestly, it looks like crap, to be honest with you. The doors look like crap. The whole thing just needs a lot of updating and refreshing altogether. Whoever did the paint job, I'm going to touch on that too. Whoever did the paint job, clearly they had a little sprayer and sprayed some paint on it and had a lot of overspray. That looks like crap. Pardon, but that exactly, look at it, guys, look at it. They sprayed paint on the glass. They sprayed paint on the glass. My God, who the hell does that? Who the hell does that? Jesus Christ. So they try to restore it like that, but that's just a horrible way of doing it. The air conditioning unit is about to die out. Look at that thing. That thing is dated. It's done. It's done. Look at the storm door. For crying out loud, look at the storm door. Look at the windows. That's all trash. That's all trash. That's all that has to be updated and redone. There's no way in hell that somebody's going to buy this property for no $350,000. You got to be crazy. But like, let's say mathematically, even if you buy it for $250,000 and have to invest extra money into it, it still does not make any sense, guys. It does not make any sense unless you're a big company willing to invest all this money into it and just wait for it to shoot up. It doesn't make any sense. For a single retail investment, it doesn't. For a big company, who expects to appreciate this market to appreciate, which it probably will. Historically, it has been. Then it makes sense. But not to us, guys. Not to us. All right, so we're going to show you a little bit of example that actually makes a little more sense for somebody to invest in. So this particular property right there, it's a duplex, 2 units. So mathematically, let's put it this way. It was for sale for $160,000, sold for $160,000. So mathematically, again, let's go with the standard 80-20. 80-20, that means your payments there with taxes and everything, and the taxes and insurance is going to be about $1,100-ish. So at $1,100 is your payment, but each unit can be renting out in this area approximately $1,000 a month. $1,000 a month, mathematically. Could be less, could be more. We're just ballparking it. So let's say $2,000 a month for both units is what you're getting. $2,000, but your payment are only $1,100. So ding, 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 there's some profit in this, right? There's about $900 profit. I mean, of course, there's going to be maintenance. Of course, there's going to be extra things that you might need to put into it, maybe something vacancy sometimes, but you got to look at the contrast here. This one, for somebody who has only, let's say, $60,000, or somebody who just have some, what is that going to be, 20%, $32,000 in cash, and they can finance the rest. For somebody with that money who just have this much and want to buy the property, obviously, mathematically, this makes much more sense because you're going to come out on top because you're going to make some money off of it. The other properties we showed, for example, you're going to break even, maybe, most likely you're not. This one, you actually have some room for profit. Now, it's probably not as fancy. The city is not as fancy as the other one we showed, and maybe some people perceive that to be where it's not going to grow as much. But that's debatable. It's still going to grow. And at the same time, you're not going to suffer because you're going to understand that you're still going to have some income coming in. So that's the key to it. When you use that kind of investor, you want to make sure that you have at least some kind of income coming in and not all your money just flushed down. So let's look at the property itself. It's not awfully done, actually. To be honest with you, they're not awfully done. I mean, it could need some improvements if you really want to be too specific and too personal and too perfect about things. But overall, I mean, I don't see any red flags, to be honest with you. I don't see any red flags. I mean, the AC unit is pretty new. The siding looks pretty nicely. The windows, I do have to admit, they're probably a cheaper quality, builder quality windows that probably would not hurt to have them replaced at some point or the other, but there's nothing wrong with them. You can leave them. That's fine. Gutters look like it's in good shape. Downspouts look like they're in good shape. Really, even, I'll take my word back. I mean, they don't look too bad. The door looks pretty good. Pretty nice house. It doesn't look like you need too much investment to go into this compared to, let's say, the one other house we showed, or compared to, check this out, compared to this house, for example. This house needs quite a lot more work. I mean, clearly. But this house altogether, I mean, roof, that's another thing you want to always watch out for. is the roof. See the architectural shingles? See how nice they are? They're not curling, nothing really happening there, and how it's all straight. There's a little bit of a dip down there at that roof, at that side, so there might be a rafter somewhere you want to adjust there, and then the chimney would need probably a little bit tuck pointing, but beyond that, all those are minor things, and that's what you're looking for. There's really minor things. There's nothing too major here to improve, to adjust, and the house is nice. Once you walk in there, maybe you can find some extra things, maybe some electrical issues, but from what it seems like, it's actually a pretty good deal compared to the other one we looked at. So that's the key to it. Especially if you're a small investor. If you want to make some money on it, look for basic math. Again, this is all about basic math. Look at what your payment is going to be. Look at what your income is going to be. Look at what the rental market is around you. And if that makes sense, if the rental is going to make sense, if you can make the numbers where you're going to still come out a little bit on top and not just break even, because that's what complicated is. That's what is horrible, is when you're only breaking even or losing money. You're hoping the value is going to rise, but that's only good when you're a massive investor with math and cash. When you're just a single property investor, and you have a 9-to-5 job, let's say, you can't worry about all those things. You can't worry about the fact that you're just breaking even on this property or losing some money. You want to make some money on basically every transaction. You got to be very picky when you choose your houses. So, pretty good house, guys. Pretty good house. We'll show some more of those.